Well, welcome back to Stream of Thoughts, everyone. A bit of a freeform one this time, even I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about this time around. Well, I do have a vague idea, but I guess let's get started. So this one is a bit more of a... I'm pretty much finished with regards to when I want to talk about the channel, what I want to do with it, plans, thoughts behind it, things like that. There's some things that I still want to talk about down the line, but for now, well, yeah, for now, we'll have some one-off discussions since one of the main reasons I do stream thoughts is to help me work on just improvisational conversation, just talking to myself in general, talking out loud, things like that. And so that's what this is here for. But other than that, we are getting close to doing this whole thing for half a year. Which, I mean, is really a celebration for myself, really. Still a bit of dust around here, but still something worth celebrating. Because I've gotten this far. But that's not why we are here today. Because this is kind of the first kind of freeform speech thing I wanted to do, I wanted to do something that I was fairly interested in. And something I've been around to see through its entire duration, and something that I feel comfortable around. And is kind of related to the channel, and that is kind of this concept of, well, I called it the Let's Play, because that's kind of the era where I came to know, well, this, which I'll get into later, but I mean, technically it could be, well, it is sourced to even earlier than that, but I think it's an appropriate title for this day and age, especially since it's kind of what I'm doing, and depending on if we have time or not, we might talk about why and how I do that, or why I'm following suit, or if I am following suit to normal procedures. So I guess to start, well, start with an overall summary. What's a Let's Play? And in this day and age, it's just often pretty much videos of someone playing through a video game, with often an audience to react to it, or yeah, with an audience to react to it. And so thus kind of the Let's Play format is created. It's basically someone playing through a video game and kind of their reactions to it, but the audience as well. And there could be a bit of an interactive dynamic between, excuse me, between the audience, the player, and the game itself. And so it creates this, well, a new format of video, currently videos, that is seen. But we'll see how that kind of changes over time. I really wish I could have, as an aside, I really wish I could do this as more of a performance, maybe a presentative presentation format, but for now, this is just freeform off the top of my head, just talking on a whim. I might do it because it's an interesting topic to talk about, but for now, just free talk, loose ideas. Maybe I'll come back to this, check my notes with myself, as one does, and see what happens. But anyways, so actually I should also bring this up too. This is all from my knowledge. So, things might be inaccurate or outright wrong. But don't quote me on anything here. But it's a good kind of Uh, a good general path, I guess, to take. So I think, without further ado, let's get to the beginning. So back in the day, games are hard. Mainly because people really didn't know how to establish difficulty with it, and no one really kind of saw games as they felt more of an aside, I guess. This is post-arcade era, or during arcade era. So, long before text-based, well, long after text-based adventures and whatnot. On a computer, and Pong. So, during this time, games were difficult. Maybe because they wanted to consume more quarters, as an arcade-style game would. Or just because difficulty wasn't really something that was truly understood in the game world quite yet. No one really knew what made a game problematic or hard or tricky, difficult, things like that. There's no one to really proofread games, since they're kind of in that age of being new. As such, there were difficult encounters, or maybe there was some difficulty in trying to find certain items, or, well, certain things to advance through the game. Or perhaps people just need tips. And so this is kind of around the conception, well, kind of around the time where internet was kind of just starting. And so the best they could do was to create, well, besides talking with friends about seeing if they could find the solution or find a helpful trick, maybe some cheats, tricks, was to consult the internet, talk to each other. And so, as a result, kind of the first bits of Let's Plays was kind of there, where people created, well, originally it was screenshots of how to do things, or maybe it's just a text-based explanation. Here's how you do this is what happens when you go here. Or maybe, here's a cheat code that I learned that gives you 30 lives. That'd be Konami and Contra, I believe. Ooh, please tell me if that's right. I'd be surprised. Or maybe just how to beat a boss, or a difficult enemy. So that's kind of where that conception's come to be. Something about this sounds familiar. If I'm quoting something, but don't have any notes. I can't recall the source. Fact check. But anyways. So yeah. So in a way, it was kind of called, well, I'd classify it as a Let's Play because it's people helping each other out playing through a game. Hence being a Let's Play. A lot of things were kind of rough for games and gamers, but it was a way for people to actually unite and try to beat a game together. Now, of course, this kind of changed into excuse me, changed into a video format with kind of the bringing up of video sharing and, well, YouTube at the very beginning, where now people could share videos of what they want to do, kind of sharing, here's how you do it, once again. So the idea is still there. This just now has changed from a text or photo based system to a video based one. And now people are able to see how, well, people are able to see more clearly what are the appropriate things to do. Do things that can't really be explained by words or photos too well. So that started going about. Of course, I guess I should mention this because, well, it is really, because it is kind of part of the history. Of course, we'd also have, fake rumors and whatnot as well in that term of in terms of that social in well yeah in terms of kind of social guidance or uh and text-based help. I mean, it's been a very long. Oh, wow. Does anyone even know Mew under the truck anymore? In Pokemon Red? That too old of a reference? Of course, it's easy to say these things through word of mouth, but at least through video format, it could be harder to fake. At least early video era. It would be harder to fake or get around. And well, show that Mew is not in fact under the truck. Which is a shame, really. But it's kind of grown to this growth. And now everyone's doing these videos and, well, everyone's trying to help each other out. But then something interesting happened, and this is the part that intrigues me most. Suddenly, it stops being kind of a help-based system. Instead, it's more of a let's play through this game without knowing anything. Or maybe let's play this game with knowing something, but just play through the game and not be a guide. Just play through the entirety of the game, and then people will just check out certain bits and bobs as a guide, so then it could help them out on their adventures. And so now we have better step-by-step guides through entire games, which people are doing. I might have said blind earlier. That might have been a mistake. Maybe not. That one, fact check. Anyways, but then, as soon as that happens, well, it creates a bit of a dilemma, but we'll touch on that shortly. But what's interesting here is that now just people are just playing games, and everyone's there to kind of watch that. And then as a result of that, you know, some goofy reactions happen, maybe something that wasn't anticipated, and soon the audience gets a laugh out of it. Soon the audience sees, you know, well, there could be life behind these guides. There could be life behind, well, whatever could be made. And that kind of creates an interesting turn. It's an intriguing turn. I'm not sure how I enjoy the turn, but I get that there is conflict behind it. In that now, games are now based on reactions. Where sure, you could use the game as a guide, but sometimes it could be investigating the person behind it and seeing how they react to certain aspects of a game, or see if they, or see how they deal with, you know, certain parts. So really, what does that mean? Now it feels less about the game and a bit more about the person playing the game. It's kind of an interaction between the two. And then in come blind playthroughs where people don't know when they're playing, well, people don't know about the game they're playing. So now it provides an entirely new and fresh experience and perspective on a thing. Nothing too guided or nothing too helpful. And now it feels like, okay, so this is more focused on, well, it's a bit of a balance between the person and game now, where both aspects are kind of important. Of course, with this comes the loss of actually kind of the instructions, the tutorial, the helpful guides. And in fact, you kind of get more feelings of being lost, or feelings of confusion or not knowing what to do. is an interesting turn because now the audience is slowly getting more invested in the person rather than the game. Go forward a few years, now things like Facecam exist, where now you could see a person's face when they're playing through a game, see their reactions, and currently now that's headed to the virtual world, which is quite interesting. But in the meantime, what's happening to the audience? Well, the audience has experienced the game, or has seen someone else experience the game, because now it's not about certain games as being guides. Well, it's not about people helping each other out in specific games. Now it's about popular games. Now it's about, games that people find funny to react to on the internet, or not necessarily funny, but interesting, intriguing, maybe scary even. So now, as a result, it's the audience that have the upper hand. They're the ones that know how the game works. They're the ones who know the intricacies of the game and are able to help inform whoever is playing. And well, now it's an interesting change in dynamic. Earlier, we had the expert players trying to help the helpless viewers, and now the viewers are the ones who are being helpful, and the person playing is the one who's kind of a bit helpless for most of the time. Now, of course, I should mention, I guess this is a good time to mention it, that, the old ways still aren't lost. There are some people who still, there are a lot of people who still make kind of video-based guides in order to do exactly what they need to do, although they aren't really, following the trend, shall I say. And so now we just have people watching other people play games and reacting to it, well, together. And for me personally, since a lot of this has kind of been fact spouting and not a lot of me in it, I know, well, it's funny to provide the context, but now it definitely feels like there's more personality over the game, where the game is more of a prompt, it's more of a stimulus. There's the right word. Thank you, psychology, for coming in handy. To a player's behavior, and it's the audience who gets to be rewarded based on that person's behavior. That provides an interesting dynamic on the power of the game over time. How it diminishes over time. And another interesting fact, I mentioned this earlier, is the fact that people are now watching a game in its entirety. What does this mean for, I guess, sales for games and whatnot? Because really, what's the point of buying an $X game when you could just watch someone play it and it's basically just as good of an experience? Although it isn't, please buy games. That one's for me. And so, what happens to them? Games, once again, losing power. And it's kind of hard to pick that up. Now, of course, at this current time, internet's still in a not quite, maybe, what era would I put it at? Maybe like the Middle Ages, where, internet is a bit lawless, a bit crazy, still not controlled, but, well, people are playing games, really, or just other people to view. What's the point for buying it? So it's interesting how kind of Let's Plays have done this kind of U-turn in, well, the power of the game. It used to be games that were, well, the problem is that games are, in the past, is that games are the ones that were powerful, and now it's gone. Now it's more about reactions and people reacting to it rather than kind of enjoying a game for what it is. And so, you know what? We'll make this an extra long stream of thoughts because, well, yeah, I'll put in my 2 cents. Because games themselves have actually, well, grown and changed, evolved. One of the big things I want to talk about eventually is how games have evolved into just going beyond fun and entertainment, and how they can be, artistic experiences. They could, well, they're wonderful storytelling tools. They're ways to promote creativity beyond just being, well, of course, they still could be fun and entertaining, but they could be forms of art. And it can be problematic if, these things kind of aren't viewed or appreciated. And it's kind of hard to observe when it feels like people are taking all the attention. Now, of course, I'm not downputting those people because, well, if you're, well, a comedian or just an entertainer in general, it does help to have some form of stimulus to react to, and games can be a wonderful aspect of doing that, but I definitely feel that nowadays the dynamic has to be shared because games themselves have gone so far. And, well, the Let's Plays themselves are less about, well, I don't know, they feel less about being played, I guess I would put it. Of course, this might just be me being, well, biased based on the things I view. But, for me, I guess one day I'd hope people can appreciate or view kind of a game for what it is. Sometimes without necessarily having a character behind it, or without an audience as well. Or just to enjoy games like, well, like they were enjoyed in the past. Where you're kind of free to do what you want. I didn't even mention that part. Where, I guess, because... Oh man, I forgot to mention. Whatever, I won't talk about that then. I'll perhaps bring it up for later discussion or presentation. But, sometimes you gotta take in the sights rather than, go through the game as the audience demands it. So yeah. I think I've mentioned everything. Did it have a conclusion? I mean, not really. Although it is interesting to see the change in power dynamic. Interesting to see where we are at this point in time and how it's going to change. Really, it was more of an informative tidbit alongside my opinion with it. But I think that's sufficient enough to get, a C-graded paper for just blindly speaking. Well, okay, without much research, or that specific research, so maybe I'll lower that down by a letter. Nah, on D. Okay, D feels like I'm putting myself too far down though. But solid work for freeform talk and whatnot. I think I'll end it there. Hopefully enjoyed this history lesson and, well, my thoughts and perspectives behind it. But I think in the next at the next part, I think I want to talk about why I'm doing it. I thought I'd get to it around here, but well, I'd hope I'd have a different approach in doing it. Well, I'd hope that. Yeah, I could be that change I want to see. But, yeah, we'll call it there. Well, but yeah, that's been Stream of Thoughts. Those were my thoughts, and they have in fact been streamed. So I think I pretty much got the whole thing done. Oh well. Until next time, this has been me. Over and out. Yeah, people say over and out, right? Right. Yeah. Maybe.